What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for One Punch Man Season 3. This is episode 2, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. One thing we never really discussed last week was, how good the opening of the show is. I mean, the music's good, the animation of that opening is good, but that doesn't really
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, Jam Project comes back to do the opening again because they did the opening for Season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
it gets you hyped up for the show, but that doesn't translate into what we've been seeing for the past 2 weeks already.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the opening, like I said before we started recording, is probably the best animated sequence in the whole show so far. Obviously, like that's where a lot of the budget probably went. And unfortunately, it's just not really representative of what the show is going, so far at least, is going to look like. Because like immediately at the start of the episode, we already start to see the issues crop up again with the lack, really just the complete lack of animation. There's a bunch of people, like, I guess, that are basically, I get, advocating for the Monster Association to just, I guess, for them to just take over and rule over humans. And like this is just a scene with a lot of people that are supposed to be walking around, and it's literally just still frames. Like, it's just the panning shot of people frozen in place, like walking along the street, and there's only one person that is moving in a scene. And we cut from that to a scene of the leader, I guess, of these, like, these protesters or whatever, these advocates, and he's the only one moving, and he's the only one that's speaking, and most scenes is like with the first episode, the only thing moving is his mouth. Sometimes occasionally he moves around, but that's about the extent of it. And like, there's very minimal animation.
Yeah. And of course, Garo steps in and, it kind of tamps down, uh, the chaos of that protest or whatever that is. Then he heads over to a diner, which it that diner scene, it just padded out like almost much of the episode, in my opinion, because uh, Garo just
Yeah,
goes in there like have his lunch, pretty much just like orders almost everything in the menu, but it just shows him just eating everything, and then it's just like most of the frames are just like almost minimal, to the point where also like you mentioned before, like it kind of gets into like these weird close-up shots of him eating too. Um,
yeah. I mean, you can tell, like, a lot of the shots are just to, like I mentioned, I think in the first episode review too. Like, it seems like a lot of these shots are just kind of trying to hide the lack of animation, because you'll get like a lot of just you get like a lot of panning shots of just like either the background or just like a close up of a character. And I feel like that's just so that they don't have to show, like, I guess, multiple characters in a
it's
scene.
it's
So they don't.
just it's just straight up laziness. And
Yeah.
it's just because they're like literally they're just taking shortcuts of like panning out shots of the background for with nothing going on, with somebody else talking in the background, and then
Well, also, like, we mentioned the opening, but I kind of want to mention the ending too, because I kind of skipped the ending, but I watched a little bit of it, and all I've noticed is the ending is just it feels like just panning shots of the landscape, like different backgrounds and landscapes, and like I don't know, like the opening looks a lot better, but the ending is just totally lazy. Um,
I,
Kind of like, the rest of the show
it
so
makes me
far.
think that they're doing this on purpose, because they know
Yeah.
that much of what they've made is just total garbage right now.
Like, this really felt like it needed like way more time, and I don't know how long they actually spent working on this season, because I mean, they apparently, I mean, I don't know what was going on for the 6 years in between season 2 and this season, but it just feels like they really didn't spend a lot of time really like working on this season at all,
I just
and it was just like rushed out,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, that's how it felt like. um
Yeah, and then of course
but
we cut to another part of the diner in which Saitama is there also, which I have no idea why, how Garo doesn't even notice him there. Uh,
yeah.
and then of course Saitama forgets his wallet, and he panics of whether or not how he's gonna pay for it. Then all of a sudden Fubuki comes in, uh, once again making the offer to recruit him into her group. But of course, Saitama like uses this opportunity to order something for her, and then uh, pretty much trick her into eating something to the point where that he's gonna have her pay the bill, and then he just runs off to go
Yeah.
after Garo because he just, he left without even paying for his lunch.
Yeah, he basically just dines and dashes and leaves Fubuki with the bill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is how it is in the manga, but it just feels like kind of like a repeat of the last scene in the first episode where Fubuki is just sort of trying to talk to Saitama and sort of like, I guess, convince him to join the Blizzard Bunch. And I don't know, that's pretty much the same thing that happens in this scene, just in a different setting. And I guess, Saitama just kind of leaving Fubuki behind, and just not really, I guess, not really taking her seriously. But yeah, and then like a lot of the episode sort of focuses around Garo, like just sort of honestly, like a lot of it is just Garo like sort of walking around, and then eventually he encounters this kid who, I guess this kid is being, is like being bullied or something. I like I said, I didn't really watch season 2, so I guess this is a kid he helped in season 2.
Did like it was during in the last few episodes that he helped out this kid while he, it was around the time when he was being attacked by multiple different heroes because it was dubbed the hero killer or hero slayer. So he helps this kid again after being bullied, and he gives this, despite Garo being labeled as like the villain of the show, he comes across as more heroic, if anything else. And then of course, he gives like the kid a pep talk, and then all of a sudden Saitama just shows up out of nowhere, just gives him a lecture about dying and dashing, but he's one to talk since he did the exact same thing just a few minutes ago. And then of course Garo goes in to fight Saitama, but he gets knocked out in just one punch, and that's pretty much it. And then Saitama just walks out, and that was it. And so and then of course we get to the last bits of the episode in which two members of the Monsters Association go after Garo for, I guess in a way, like failing to meet their standards, for being a part of the Monsters Association.
Well, also, like, they mentioned that they were also, I guess, trying to test him or test his strength.
Yeah, especially like telling Garo to kill the kid, but of course he refuses to do so. And then I guess you can consider the fight scene, which I would say it's like the best. I would say the best animated part.
I did think it was probably the best looking, but honestly, like, the standard is so low at this point to where, like, most anything would probably look better than what we've been seeing with the season so far. But yeah, it's definitely, there's definitely the most going on in this sequence where, like, I think Garo gets Garo gets hit and he goes flying, and like twists around in the air.
I think it was like what was it?
Or was it? No, that's right. It was what was it? Jack the Ripper or whatever the hell that guy's name was.
Yeah, the guy with the blades for arms.
Yeah, he like twists and turns in the air, and I was kind of impressed with this sequence. Like there was actually a lot of it felt like there was a lot more fluidity with the movement. It didn't really feel like as stiff as everything else. But then there are other points where like it would just devolve into like just speed lines and just more kind of like freeze frame shots. But then that sequence looked good, but then it just kind of, we go back to sort of like, just kind of lazy animation after that. But it also sort of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger with these two members of the Monster Association about to fight Garo. And I was like, I was really hoping that we were going to see like a full fight scene in this episode, so we might get to see like if it actually gets worse when the fight scenes happen. But there was one little sequence that looked fine, and then the rest of it's kind of, yeah, I mean, nothing's really happened yet, so I guess it's too early to really judge it. But I guess we'll see next week if it really just, how good or how bad it's going to look. I really am not. I don't have high expectations considering what we've seen so far, though.
I mean, the episode just like, of course, ended abruptly, like midway
Yeah,
through that
well,
fight.
and then we also have like an after credits sequence with this guy. What is Zombie
Zombie
Man or
Man,
something?
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know what to make of that scene. It's just like he's just going about investigating, and he comes across like this, this gorilla-looking guy, which he interrogates, and then I guess that's it. It's just the whole context of the scene is like he's supposed to go after like like a villainous group, and then like it turns out that this gorilla working at this takoyaki restaurant is like is not associated with that group anymore. So it just rendered that mid credit scene like rather pointless.
yeah. I don't know. It was a bit of a weird way to end the episode. Like kind of like the last episode, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know. Would you say it's a little bit better than last week's episode because at least we got like one sequence that looked okay?
I mean, it
Um,
was fine, but it's just
yeah, but
like
then it's just
it's just much of this episode just dragged out until we finally got to that one
yeah.
point, which in which they just cut off like midway through that fight out of nowhere. So it's
It really feels like they're I don't know. I just have a really bad feeling. I feel like the reason why they cut it off there is because they almost feels like they're trying to stall, because they know it's going to look really bad. The same way with how they're directing like a lot of these scenes. They're like trying their best to hide, the just complete lack of animation. At least it feels that way to me.
are they really
But
trying to hide it? Because
uh,
I don't think they're really trying to hide it as
well,
well as
they're trying to hide. I mean, as best as they can. I guess. I guess there are some scenes where they just can't. But I guess maybe when they can do something about it, they'll just like, like we mentioned before, like they'll have a close up of a character's face, or they'll like focus on something that's kind of irrelevant and not really like on what's really like what's going on. Uh, I don't know, but yeah, it's just like it's not much better than last week's episode, really. Uh, it's just I mean, at least it's not any worse, I guess, but it's not any better. And I guess this is just the quality that we have to expect going forward. I mean, I guess we can only hope it doesn't get worse, which is just it sucks to say that's the point we're at with the series,
I mean,
is that we can only hope it's not going to look terrible.
in comparison to to My Hero Academia, which is literally on its final season, it's leagues
Yeah.
better than what we're seeing with One Punch Man, which is another
Well, yeah, I mean,
superhero show.
there's so many other things you can compare it to. I mean, My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, like it really should be on that level of quality. And I mean, I just don't know why it's kind of been treated the way it has. I mean, I get like the studio's changed, but it just I don't know. It just seems like the like JC staff just couldn't really care less about putting out a quality product with One Punch Man. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because they have so many other projects or what the reason is, but I mean, it's that, and also that they have like this new director. Just I think by his own admission is fairly like inexperienced. So I mean, and it's not really his fault, but like I'm just wondering like why was he the one that's in charge of this, when they could have gotten somebody else and people who are more experienced, like industry veterans or something, to try to animate this. But I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure what the thought process is behind, the production of the series.
Yeah, I don't know. It just looks. I don't even know what to think of it about the show anymore. Like there,
Yeah.
like it's and I really feel like One Punch Man coming out this season, and which it's up against like multiple different series that are coming out this season, like Spy Family season 3, My Hero Academia on its
Yeah. I mean, the timing
final
is just
season.
terrible
Yeah,
anyway.
and then what was it? And then there's another there's another series like Uma Musume Cinderella Gray. I mean, that's like one of the more underdog series, but everyone is more, kind of enjoying the show ever since the mobile game came out. But One Punch Man is like, it's not, there's been literally no hype for that show ever since we even got announced, nor has there been any more hype, even like a few months before the show came out.
I mean, it was already in a bad spot after season 2, and unfortunately, season 3 is it's pretty much everything we were afraid it was going to be. Um, I mean, I guess that's not surprising. It's not like, oh, it actually looks good or anything. Like, no, it's pretty much what we thought it was going to be. I guess if unfortunately, if not maybe a little bit worse. So, which is just kind of, I mean, that's just in and of itself is impressive that it somehow ends up looking worse than season 2. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much else to say about this. I mean, I guess we'll see like what next week's episode looks like. I don't know. Like some people are getting their hopes up because they released, I guess, some of the preview images for this episode, but it still wasn't like the animation. So I mean, it's one thing to look at a still image, and it's another thing to actually see it in motion, which there really isn't much with One Punch Man at this point. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about
It's
it.
just pretty much a wait and see approach to see how they can handle
Yeah.
the rest of the season, because that just honestly, in my opinion, I really think they should have held off on the releasing this season until maybe and I don't know, maybe unless they improved the show a bit or maybe worked on the show a little bit more. Uh, I don't know. I don't know like what else like uh, is being done about this show, but it just doesn't seem like it's of standards, which I don't know, which I was afraid of before the season came out.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not really even a case that it's the JC staff can't put out like decent animated shows. Like, I mean, they've done stuff like Railgun and what was it, Danmachi, that actually look really good. So I mean, that's not the problem. It's just that JC staff for whatever reason just couldn't care. I guess just couldn't care less about One Punch Man.
I mean, I don't
So
understand what
you know,
what the hate for. Well, I mean, it's not like anyone hates One Punch Man. It's just like
it doesn't
it's just
really make sense because like it would be one thing if it was based on a manga that doesn't really sell a lot, because I know a lot of it's based on like money and how much a manga or light novel sells. And but One Punch Man, I mean, as far as I know, like it sells pretty well, so I don't really get it. um it's not like it doesn't make money.
it's just it's just a studio just completely butchering this source material to to the point where like they're it just kills the franchise at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, so that being said, until next week, we will see you all next time.